Like if you're going to win big in life, you got to be committed, locked in, and maybe at a point you want to retire or slow down. But if you want to be on top of the game, you got to be locked in, and that's how I've been since I started. When I make an investment, it's like that money's gone. Whatever happens, happens. But I let the investment do what the investment's supposed to do.
If you think that life is not fair, in half a decade, 5 years, you could drastically change your life. You could go from zero to hero in 5 years, right? What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the DNG podcast, the Driven Not Given podcast. And I have a lot of young listeners, a lot of guys in their 20s, some of you guys even under your 20s. Well, I got a special treat for you. This is probably one of the biggest studs in his 20s in the network marketing, direct sales industry, and just an entrepreneur that's crushing it. You know, when you compare it to, just entrepreneurs around the world, one of the most influential young entrepreneurs out there, Mr. Anthony Napolitano. What's up, Anthony? How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Doing amazing, man. Amazing, man. It's good to see you, my friend.
Yeah, good to see you as well. Hope everything's well.
Everything is good, man. Everything is good, bro. I've been wanting to have you on the podcast, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to see if I got a trip to Florida or if he's got a trip to Cali, and then as busy as we both are, I'm like, you know what? I got to get this podcast out, even if we do it via Zoom. And then maybe the second one in a year, we could do it in person. What do you think?
I'm down, bro. I'm down. Schedule's like, we try to do it right. We're always all over the place, both of us. So no, I definitely would love to do it in person the next time for sure.
For sure, bro, for sure. And like I told you, man, I'm going to be moving to Florida the next 2 years anyways, man. So we're going to be seeing more of each other.
Nah, that would definitely be a good time. We'll definitely have some fun in Florida.
Nice. So, brother, listen, I want to get into a lot of topics, man. I want to get into entrepreneurship. I want to get into a little bit of your story, your background, because I'm very intrigued, and a lot of people are very intrigued how certain people got to these positions, right? Especially, I mean, what are you, 26 years old?
Yeah, 26.
Man, 26 years old. Shit, when I was 26 years old, I was nowhere near, where you are, right? So I'm very intrigued, and the audience is intrigued as well of how you got there. But before we get into, we're going to talk about crypto, we're going to talk about business, we're going to talk about how you got there and direct sales. But I want to know who you were, bro, in high school. Who was Anthony Napolitano in high school?
Yeah, so who I was in high school, an athlete. Sports was my life. That's really all I did, all I cared about. I wasn't going out and partying like a lot of young kids, right? I was all about sports. Growing up in South Florida, as well as you guys know, it's summer all year long. So it's not like seasonal, right? I played baseball all year long. That was like what I did, traveled the country. That was my passion. High school, I was a two-sport athlete, played baseball and basketball. And after high school, of course, I decided to pursue my baseball career to the next level. But sports was my life, JC. And I could tell you, sports taught me so much of the things that I actually do in business today. Where a lot of people, the competitiveness, the consistency, the work ethic, all that stuff was instilled in me through playing sports.
That makes a lot of sense. It's interesting that you mentioned that because in high school, sports was my life. I did martial arts, karate mainly, right? Karate and kickboxing, but mainly karate. And you mentioned that you didn't party a whole lot. I didn't party hardly at all either. Every weekend I was either in Texas, in Georgia, in, Las Vegas, competing at a karate tournament for the, probably 2-3 weekends out of the month. And, after school, I was in the karate school training. So sports definitely, that's something that we have in common that I didn't know before. I knew you did sports, but not to that level. And that develops a certain type of discipline that the average person doesn't develop, right? Because think about it. I didn't have my first beer, bro, till I was like 20 years old, right? And so part of the reason was because I wasn't in those parties, right? I remember in high school, there was a bunch of kids and they were always in parties. And that's when they start drinking in high school. And so I didn't really develop these habits. So I find that that's something that, that obviously shaped you and stuff. So how would you say that sports helped you in the business world?
Yeah, no, I would say it created consistency and routines, and it also let me be coachable, right? Like a lot of people are not coachable in business. They get involved and they think they know everything. Well, in sports, I was always coachable to learn new things to perfect my craft, right? But I can tell you, like you were just saying, like you never drank in high school or anything like that. Like I was the same way. I woke up, had a protein shake every day, right? Hit the gym every day. Like those were the things I was doing, right? So I built a lot of good habits for me. And all I really did was take that consistency, that routine, and all those things. And, when I got into business, kind of duplicated the same exact philosophies to the business world.
Yes. you mentioned a couple of things: routines, coachable, and discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Routines is so incredibly true, right? Everybody has a routine, whether they know it or not, right? How they wake up in the morning, how they start the day, even the routines in their mind, right? Some people have a routine of being negative, right? And then another thing that you mentioned is being coachable. Sports helped me a lot with being coachable, which, I remember when my karate teacher would tell me to do things, it wasn't like, okay, or yes, it was, yes, sir. You know what I'm saying? Like, a martial arts type of deal. As a matter of fact, my mentors going into the business world would tell me to do things, and I was not only very coachable, but I would literally respond to them the same way. I'll say, yes, sir, right? And sometimes they would chuckle a little bit because I would answer that. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm just kind of used to saying that. But one thing I noticed is that a lot of people, they're not as disciplined as you are. They're not as disciplined as I am. And listen, man, the proof is in the pudding, right? If we look at what you've done, right, which we're going to get into here shortly, of when you got into entrepreneurship. But I mean, there's that common denominator between a lot of people that did. Now, don't get me wrong. Of course, are there going to be people that did sports and don't have discipline now? Of course, absolutely. But it's definitely one of those things that cuts that gap, right, for people. So tell me about the importance of routines, or tell me about maybe your routine. What is your routine in the morning and throughout the day?
Yeah, so when I'm on the road, of course, I have to kind of adjust depending in different countries and all that. But when I'm home, right, like say I'm in Florida, waking up at my house, first thing I do every single morning is hit the gym. First thing, like we're talking, I wake up without an alarm, 6 a.m., like automatically. I can't sleep past that. My body does not go past that, right?
I love it.
I wake up, basically go to the gym. First thing I do, come home. I like to actually research, self-develop, like right when I get home from the gym. I feel like it's a really good time. From there, of course, eat, whatever the case may be, like that. But I like to, between the hours of like 12 and 4, for my business personally, I like to put out content. I like to prospect. I like to help people with calls and trainings and a lot of things like that. And of course, at nights, it's all about events, right? Events are what I do. I'm in an event-based industry. My job is to, get eyes on screens and get butts and chairs, right? That's what I do for a career when it comes to the marketing side of things. So that's kind of my consistency, my routine. For example, I'm in my office right now. I've been here since, I believe, 11. I actually came here this morning after a workout, 9 a.m. to 10 for a quick meeting with a guy, an hour. Went back home, showered, ate, and I'm actually at the office right now. I've been here since, like I said, 12. It's about 3:30 Eastern time currently, and I'll be here till about 4 or 5. We'll go home, eat something, and be back for an event tonight. So,
Nice.
that's the work ethic, man, in the sense of knowing your routine, having a plan. And I think most people don't have a plan to succeed, right? They're just throwing crap on the wall, hoping it sticks. You have to have a rhyme or reason for the things that you do each and every day. Like I know, hey, if I do this today, what will come tomorrow? You have to have that vision when you build a business.
I love it. I love it, man. Let me ask you this, because I'm curious to know, because I hope it's okay to say this, but I'm gonna take a little bit of a risk by saying Anthony is a 7-figure earner. Okay, 26 years old. 7 figures a year plus, okay? A lot of people want to make that kind of income, Anthony. So my question to you is this, to put things into perspective for people, how many hours a day did you start working when you barely started with this particular company, which you've been with about 5-6 years now, right? If I'm not mistaken. And what is your current work ethic as far as hours are concerned on a weekly basis today? Is it the same as before? Is it a little bit more relaxed now? Basically, what does it take to get there?
Yeah. So I can tell you, when I got introduced to the profession, the first 6 months, it was more of a part-time thing for me, right? I was feeling it out, kind of getting my bearings of it all. And after about 6 months, I got to a full-time income in the profession. And of course, that was previous to me getting involved in what we're involved in today. But I could tell you, once I understood what I was actually involved in and the potential of the industry that I'm involved in, the work ethic went through the roof. Right. I was like, okay, I can see where I'll be in the next 2, 3, 5 years if I work my butt off. And I can tell you, for me, a lot of people, they base their actions, their activities based on how much they're getting paid. Right. Sometimes, if you're making a few $100s, they're not going to give it that much, emphasis. They'll maybe spend some time doing something else. Me, I can tell you, since the beginning, I'm making $500 a month, $1,000 a month. I treat it the same way to making 7 figures. I treat it the same exact way. People are like, man, Anthony, you still get on all the calls. You still go to all the meetings. Why do you do it? And I'm like, it really never was about money to me. Yeah, of course, not saying, guys, we don't want to make money. We all want to make money, right? But at the end of the day, me personally, once I created time and financial freedom for myself and my family, it was more so about like winning the game. This is another sport, right? Going back to the sports analogy, like this is a sport. I want to be the best at what I do. And I take pride and passion about it. And, I want to really help other people be able to, imitate what I've been able to do for the last few years of my life and do it for themselves. So I want to be an example for others today, and really help people. But I can tell you, JC, probably, man, I'm working the business. I'm talking 6-8 hours a day still, like every day. And that's a lot of time in our business. Full time for most people, probably 3 hours, 2-3 hours a day. That would probably be full time for a lot of people. But, I'm doing it. And of course, I travel still like crazy. For my business personally, I've traveled to 39 countries. So like I go all over the world, man. I just got back from a Europe tour recently. I was in Germany, Austria, Italy, Spain, Greece. Like it was a crazy tour. I actually stopped in Egypt. We had a 5,000 person event in Egypt. Man, I'm telling you, like everywhere, man. It's been crazy. I've been able to meet so many people and create so many relationships around the world, which is been insane. I knew no one outside of the U.S. when I started at 18 years old, right? No one. I got no one at all. But been able to make all these friendships. Like I could call someone up in any city pretty much in the world and have someone pick me up from an airport. That's a pretty cool thing to have. But it's been a blessing in my life. But I love it, JC. I'm one of those people that I don't truly believe in balance. I'll be honest with you. People say, oh, you can balance things. To win big, you can't balance, right? You go all out. Like you have to commit to something. Like you can't, oh yeah, man, I'm going to balance this. I'm going to work this an hour a week. And like if you're going to win big in life, you got to be committed, locked in. And maybe at a point you want to retire or slow down. But if you want to be on top of the game, you got to be locked in. And that's how I've been since I started.
100%. Yeah. I heard one time Houghton Buggs say that in order for you to have a balanced life, you have to first have an unbalanced life for a certain period of time. Then later on, once you develop that income, once you get the business to where it needs to be, or your passive income or whatever, or your investments, whatever the case may be, then you can start to taper it down a little bit if you want, right? But if you want to stay on top of the game, the way that you are right now, even me, I'm experiencing that in solar. As you know, we're crushing it, right? But I noticed that lately I want to take a little bit more time. So then I see the rankings, I start to go down. The good thing is that I got people from my sales organization that are in the number one spots on a bunch of things, right? Which is cool. So, but I knew that in order to get to this position, I had to put in those 50, 60, 70-hour weeks, right? Nonstop, hard, like real work. Because most people, whether it's their business or their job, they'll work it 6 to 8 hours, right? But they're not really working it 6 to 8 hours. They're at work or at their desk, but they're on social media most of the time. They're not being productive. You know what I'm saying?
100%. What you just said is so important to really understand. Like you got to give up to go up. That's right. It. Ooh. Like, you got a guy telling you, man, it's the weekend. I don't want to work. And then he's complaining to you the next day about, literally just having enough money to pay his bills. Like, you're telling me you want to go on these weekend vacations every weekend, hang out with a girl, fly around, whatever you're doing. Like you got to put your emphasis on what you want to accomplish. And of course, JC, as well as I know, everyone wants to be a millionaire. Everyone wants to have nice things, a nice house, a nice car, travel the world, time and financial freedom. Everyone wants those. Doesn't matter where you come from, what language you speak. Trust me, I've spoken to people all over the globe. They all want the same things, right? No matter who they are. They want the same, give back to the less fortunate. They want to do the same stuff, okay? But I can tell you, there's a big difference between wanting it and actually doing it, okay? Major difference, because to do it, it's going to take commitment. It's going to take effort. It's going to take time, okay? And most people are not willing to sacrifice that time to get to where they want to be. And that's just the reality of the world. And that's what differentiates, the 5% to the 95% of society. That's what it is.
Absolutely. I love it, man. You got to give up to go up. That, man, we got to get a sound effect for this podcast, man. Whenever somebody drops a bomb like that, man, it's so simple, but so true. I often talk about in my trainings is the committed versus the interested. Most people are simply interested in these things you mentioned. Very few are actually committed. And that when you're committed, you do things regardless, even if it's inconvenient, even if you're tired. When you're interested, you only do things when it's convenient. You only do things when there isn't something cooler or something more exciting to do. At the end of the day, champions don't, we don't stop when we're tired. We stop when we're done. right? And I know I mean, I've known you for years, bro. And I saw from the beginning, because we worked together with that, company, and we're still a part of it, right? Especially you. And from the beginning, I saw you were traveling, you were doing Zooms, you were doing meetings, you were doing in-person via Zoom meetings, everything. And you haven't let your foot off the gas, man. And I got to tell you, man, it's been amazing to see you, especially on social media, because that's how we keep in touch with everybody without having to necessarily keep in touch with people. That growth, bro, it's crazy. I did a training at a real estate office, and I told them it takes half a decade to make life fair. If you think that life is not fair, and I think everybody at one point has felt like life is not fair. If you think that life is not fair, in half a decade, 5 years, you could drastically change your life. You could go from zero to hero in 5 years, right? Because I know that you already had some pretty good success before the company you're with. And how many years have you been with this company?
6 going probably on 7, bro. Like,
okay,
it's
right. But let me ask you this. How many years into it did you earn a 7-figure income?
3.5 to 4.
That's what I'm talking about. You went all out massive action for 3.5, 4 years. Boom, 7-figure income. I mean, you made a bunch of money before that, but the 7-figure income in your early 20s. But the difference, though, is that you were willing to pay the price up front and in full, and you never let your foot off the gas. And that's one of the things that I most admire about you, bro. So let me ask you this. When did your entrepreneur journey start? At what age? Tell me about that.
This is a good story. So I was in college, going to college for my baseball career. Straight, like, transparent, right? I wasn't going to school to be a doctor. I wasn't going to school to be a lawyer. I was going to school to be a baseball player, okay? And not saying I didn't have good grades in school. Always had good grades, always was a good student, but I didn't see myself, doing something like that. So my whole purpose and passion, out of high school was, blessed to have opportunities to play baseball at the next level and, great opportunities in life that sports gave me. So I went to a college, and basically my freshman year, it's kind of funny. I went to a college called Florida Gulf Coast University. And basically I was at the college hanging out one day. It was at like a pool party kind of situation, right? It was just like a pool area on a Saturday, barbecue. And some guy comes up to me. He's like, man, I like how you were doing this, because we were playing like pool basketball, like a pickup game. And he's like, man, I saw your competitiveness. Like, you were really into that. Like, you like to win, don't you? And I'm like, yeah, man, of course. Like, I'm not going to play to lose, right? We play to win. And he's like, man, we should definitely connect. And he was kind of like pitching me, but like not pitching me. And he was very strategic how he did it. Very smart guy. He was like, man, I think you should come to, our frat. We got the biggest frat on campus. Like, you would be great. We'd love to have people that are, involved in sports and stuff like that as well. People that are athletic. I was like, man, I'll come, see what this is about, whatever, I'm brand new. It's like my freshman year, my first semester in college. And I was like, all right, I'll come hear out whatever he's got going on. So I hung out with him a few times. And he basically, after a few times of hanging, shoots me a message one day and goes, man, I think you'd be very good at what I do. I'm like, what do you talk? What do you mean? What do you do? Right? I don't understand what's going on here. But I knew he drove a beautiful car and lived in a beautiful house. And of course, money's not everything, right? But when you got no money, it's a pretty important thing, right? So I had no money. Yeah, I didn't have to worry about the school stuff, right? But I didn't have any additional income coming in. Never had a job in my life or anything. It was always sports. And he basically invited me over, and he basically showed me what he had going on and introduced me to network marketing. And I can tell you, before that, I never heard of network marketing, had no clue what it was, didn't understand the industry. No, I can tell you my whole life, nothing to do with network marketing. First exposure, and he basically showed me a concept where you were your own boss. That was really, really important to me. I like that. And you could control your income. Those things really stood out to me. The rest of it really didn't matter, to be honest. All I knew was I'm my own boss, and I determine what I make. See, most people go to a job and they get paid 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, whatever dollars an hour to work a job. And they're capped at that job. I always felt like no matter what I do, I'm going to put effort into it. And I want it to be able to reward me for, developing skills and getting better at the craft. So I love that philosophy where, I can make an unlimited amount of money if I'm willing to put in the work. So he showed it to me. I said, you know what, this is something cool. I like it. You're definitely having success with it. If you show me, a little more and really teach me the guidelines, of how this works, I'm down to do it. And I got involved that day, literally that day, got involved, and kind of crazy, man. Like, looking back, random guy, JC, right? It wasn't someone I knew for 10 years. they always say you'll make more money with strangers than you'll do with your best friends, right? Like that's the reality of it. Yeah. So that's kind of how it happened. And, I basically got involved within 6 months of meeting him. I started making a full-time income. I was doing it very part-time. I'm talking a few hours a week, really half, what I would say, people do with a business, not really putting in the effort they should be putting in, but I didn't see it for myself yet. Like I didn't understand what it could do. I was still focused on sports and, working out every day and getting better at that craft. But basically after 6 months and I started making a full-time income, I was like, this is interesting. And I went to an event, a big event. It was actually in Miami. Remember it like it was yesterday. Probably like 5,000 to 7,000 people. Good size event. And I was sitting in the back of the room, and I'm just sitting in the back, and I see all these people walking on the stage, right? I remember like it was yesterday, like I said. And they're like, yeah, I'm this person. This is my background, and this is what I'm doing in this business. And then this person walks across the stage, and it's completely different background, completely different culture. I'm like, man, all these people are making all this money in this business?
Right.
Like, if they can do this, man, I can do this, right? So that was kind of like my wake up moment. They say events change lives, right? That changed my life, that moment, because I believed I could do so much more than I was doing at the time. So I came back, and I can tell you my business exploded that summer. That's when it really exploded. When I came back from college, that summer, came back home, that 90 days of summer, man, whew, I went to work. I probably 6-7x my business in a summer. And that's when I, started making significant money in this profession and started really having success. And, a couple of years later, a year and a half, 2 years after that, still went to school, was still pursuing sports. And that was it. I actually transferred to a school in Texas my sophomore year for baseball. And basically that was still like the plan at the time, right? I got up to a point though, where I started making, of course, results not typical in this profession to do this and all this stuff. But I got up to a point where I was actually making what my teachers were making in a year and a month. And I was going to class, sitting there, taking notes. And my schedule was crazy. I can remember in Texas, like I was waking up at 5 a.m. every morning, hitting the track for an hour. We had to run an hour every morning. From there, we'd eat breakfast, shower, and then go to class from 8 to 12. And then we'd have practice from 1 to 4, like every day. And then, of course, come back to the dorm, or basically my apartment at the time. I would study and repeat. That was like my day. And I got to a point where I was like, man, I'm making significant money. Like,
right.
Top 1% of the US by far, even less than that already. And I'm, at the time I'm 21 years old, 21 years old. And I'm like, man, if I really put my effort into this, yeah, I'm working the business. I'm trying to give it as much time as possible. What if I started traveling and showing people all the things that we had going on and really commit to this thing? What could I do? And that's what I decided to do. And that was a very hard decision, to walk away from something you've done your whole life. And like, what do you think my parents were thinking? They're like, this kid's crazy. Like, even though they saw the income, they don't know how long it's going to last. They didn't know if it was like, something long-term. They thought I was kind of crazy. Like, that's what you did your whole life. Like, that's your passion. Like, you have an opportunity with that potentially to do something big. But I literally dropped out of school, and I don't mention that ever. Like, in a meeting, I never tell anyone I've ever dropped out of school or anything, because I don't push people to do those kinds of things. But I made that decision in my life, and I'm like, man, I think I could give this thing more energy and really, maximize this. And like a year after that, man, I started making like 7 figures. So
wow.
Yeah, it happened fast. And I can remember like, there was like a couple weeks before I officially decided to stop going to school. I remember telling the coach and the I guess you could call it the administration at the college, hey, I'm going to miss a few days. I got to go do a meeting in South Africa. I remember, so 24 hours of flying, man. I flew to, I believe it was like in Germany. I flew to Munich, and I think Munich to South Africa. And, that's like 10 hours there and like 13 hours there, back-to-back flights. And went there for a weekend, JC. For 48 hours to do all that flying, to do an event, like I missed like a Monday of school or something, I believe, whatever it was, to come right back. And, I was like, man, this is crazy. Like, I need to commit more. And that's kind of how the decision was made.
That's crazy, man. So yeah. What did the teacher say when you told him that? I mean, that's not a normal thing to tell a teacher.
Yeah, I'm like, I have a business trip that I got to go to in South Africa for a couple of days. I got to go handle some stuff. They're like, oh, okay. Can you do the stuff online and make it up? I was like, yeah, I'll try to do it, whatever. But yeah, it was interesting. And I can tell you, most people when you're a big thinker, right? You think big, you want more out of your life. Most people can't relate to you. And that's not a bad thing.
100%.
See, people always get upset about like, oh, I wish people wanted it like I want it. Well, the only reason you have opportunity is because they're like the way they are, right? And nothing against those people at all. We don't knock anyone, hey, you could be you, and that's fine. But if you want to do above average things and big things in your life, you got to be a little different than the masses. That's the reality of it. So I would say, especially early on, JC, a lot of people around me, family, friends from back in the day, teachers, they couldn't understand. And it's not their fault. They just never were introduced to stuff like that, and they didn't think like that. So it was definitely a transition phase, I guess, in my life of where, to what I had to do to get to where I'm at today. But definitely a blessing for sure.
Nice. I love it, man. I love it. And it's very true, man. Most people, they're not going to have that big vision. Most people, they don't think big. They don't believe big. Part of the reason is because they're not doing the personal development. They're not hanging out with people that believe like that, right? They have that lit. Now, can anybody, believe that big and achieve that big? Yeah, sure. But most people are not willing to do what it takes to get there. And so I used to get very frustrated as well when people thought very small and whatnot. And I grew up with a chip on my shoulder, being an immigrant from Mexico. And then in school, in business, when I was talking about, I'm going to do these big things and stuff and this and that, and people didn't believe me and talked down on me. And that also developed the chip on my shoulder. So I think it's a good and a bad thing to have a chip on the shoulder. Mm-hmm. For me, it was a good thing because I went out there and I worked my butt off, and I wanted to prove people wrong. Now that can also be bad, right? So I'm not over here saying that it's always good, because it's not always good. But anyways, man, let's talk about this, bro. You are crushing it in the direct sales industry. How big is your sales organization now?
Over 50,000 plus customers that pay monthly. And of course, people say like, oh, the organization's 300,000, but I'm actually giving you the hard paying members, like, right? People who pay in every single month. Wow. And I would say literally 85% of it is just customers, people who are happy to use the service that we provide as a company. And then of course, 15% of it, probably around that number, are people who are actually also working the business like myself.
Got it. Oh, that's awesome, man. So that's a solid business, man, because you guys offer some exciting stuff, which we're going to get into a tad bit on some of that stuff. But let's talk about crypto, bro. You over the last, couple of years, man, you've become, I remember when crypto was barely starting and we were working together, I was one of the early guys that knew about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, but then you really took it to another level, man. You know what I mean? And so I'm hitting you up about advice. Hey, what do you think about this? I remember when SIB hit, 4 zeros and an 8. I'm like, hey, bro, I'm holding SIB. I got a fair amount of money in this. What do you think? You said, sell it, bro. 100. I said, yeah, sell it. You're like 100% on Facebook. So I sold it, made about $10,000 in profits, and sure enough, boom, it did exactly what you said, man. So let's talk about the crypto.
Yeah, it's like the last. That was probably like 6 weeks ago or 5 or 6 weeks ago. And you were like, yeah, I remember you asked me, and it's literally went straight down since then, bro. Straight down. So, and the reason, and you can finish your question. My bad for cutting you off, but
no.
Yeah. No, I would just say the reason I told you that was SIB, just first off, for someone like wanting to understand how cryptocurrencies work and stuff. I saw the market cap. The market cap was the number 8th, 9th biggest coin in all of crypto, right? And
right.
To be up there with projects like Bitcoin or Ethereum or Polkadot or Cardano or XRP, these are projects that have, real world use case types of things that they're developing. They got great fundamentals. That would be the great word to use it.
Right.
When you got a meme coin that has no fundamentals, just pumpamentals, right? How high is it gonna go, right? How high can it really go? Is it gonna flip Bitcoin? Yeah, no, it's not gonna flip Bitcoin. Institutions are not gonna put money in meme coins, right? They trust me, because if it goes bad, they're all losing their jobs. Okay, they can't take that type of risk. So at the end of the day, I saw where it was market cap wise, and that's what I told you. I'm like, JC, man, this thing ain't going any higher than it is right now, man.
And I did the same thing with Dogecoin, right? I put money into it. My buddy hits me up. He was in one of those groups, right? And he hits me up, and I said, look, I'm going to put a couple $100 into it, maybe 1,000, maybe $500. And I let it ride out. I made like 30% profits. I was in a restaurant. That's all I had available to put on there in that particular wallet. and I got out of it right away. Same thing with SIB. I knew it was a meme coin, but I was trying to find out who can tell me when we're close to the top. And we were pretty damn close to the top when you told me that. And I sold, made about 10 G's, and very happy. So thank you for that, man.
Yeah, no problem.
So
I would just say,
no, go ahead.
No, I would just say, like, when it comes to any coin, right? When the retail customer is talking about it on social media, you probably should be selling it. Like, you wanted to get into things before people know about them, and when everyone's talking about them, you probably want to sell them. That's kind of how investing works. Buy the rumors, sell the news. Great emphasis to use always, of course. And it's just like whenever the retail guy, when a guy at Home Depot is telling you to buy something, you're probably a little late to that party. That's kind of how investing works. Yep.
I love it, man. And listen, by the way, Anthony has an incredible YouTube channel where do you do that show every week when you talk about crypto?
Yeah, so I do crypto talk once a week. Yeah, so I try to do it on Mondays, Monday or Wednesday, typically, depending on my travel schedule. But yeah, once a week, a free show. No referral links, guys. None of that crap. We're just talking about crypto, having a fun conversation, and helping people out. Yep. I
love it, man. Okay. So Anthony, when do you think the crypto bull run is gonna be over?
Great question. Great question. And that's like the $1 million question, right? Everyone wants to know that question that's involved in cryptocurrency. So everything's been historically based off of the halving, okay? And the halving happens every 4 years, where the reduction of the supply in the mining aspect is cutting in half every 4 years, okay? And typically when that happens, it basically indicates the start of a bull run. It literally has done it historically over and over and over. The last 3 cycles have done it pretty much perfectly. That's how it's worked, because you're basically taking away the amount of coin in the sense of, yes, it's still, inflationary in the sense of it still produces more Bitcoin, right? It's not like it's decreasing in supply. It's still increasing in supply, but it's decreasing the amount of supply that is produced in half every 4 years. So we call it the halving, and basically that starts the run. And the runs historically go for about 24 months, JC, about 2 years, pretty consistently. In that time period, we could see the run that happened in 13-14, kind of how that one played out. The biggest one so far was 2017, 2018, right? And what happened there was Bitcoin basically got up to about $20,000 in basically December of 2017. Got up to about 20K, and basically from there, it went down. And then it created, basically, we had Bitcoin top out, and typically how it works is the liquidity, meaning all the guys that made money in Bitcoin, this is not the retail customer. These are the big people, right? The big money, right? They take their profits in Bitcoin, and then they move them to the altcoins. So typically the altcoins, such as Ethereum, Cardano, XRP, these coins will actually run after Bitcoin tops out. And it goes for about 2 to 3 weeks. And basically how it happened in 17 was topped out in December for Bitcoin. Altcoins all made all-time highs in January. Okay, wow. All of them. Ethereum went to $400. XRP went to about $320, something like that. All these coins made all-time highs. Litecoin went to like almost $350, $400. They all went to all-time highs January, and then we went to the bear market. And basically, the bottom of the bear market was pretty much December, January of the following year. Right. So literally 12 months. I'm talking 12 months of downward action. People are like, what? Like, what do you mean? It could go backwards for 12 straight, it could go backwards for 12 straight months. And that's the difference of a bull market and a bear market, right? That's called a bear market, okay? And Bitcoin historically retraces 80 to 85% every time, okay? And until we're proven wrong, the theory sticks, okay? It retraces 80 to 85% every time. So Bitcoin actually, so people to know this, Bitcoin touched 20,000 in December of 2017. It got all the way down to a low of about, basically $3,000. Yep. From 20 to 3. Okay. Ethereum, 1,400 in January of 2018, all the way under $100. Man, that's what happens. Okay. So we've been in a run, right? Okay. And we're at the end of a cycle right now. This is December 1st. Okay. If I had to predict, I would say this will be the most explosive month we've ever had in crypto. Wow. That's a big statement to make, right? This will be the most explosive month we ever had in crypto, specifically for Bitcoin. I believe Bitcoin probably tops out this month, okay? We don't have much time. We're floating around $58,000 in real time right now, almost $60,000. I say we top out between 90 and 120, Okay, I'm not
You
going to
think
give
it
you
could go up that much this month?
that quick. Yep, we've already seen earlier.
We got to release this episode ASAP, man. Imagine.
Yeah, so I can tell you guys, earlier this year, we've seen $10,000-$12,000 days. We've already seen that. That's already proven to happen. We can see that when the big money wants to move the price, they can move the price. We've also seen a test. So like last week, they were testing the price. They pushed it up to push it down to push it back up. Why are they doing that? Because they're seeing how much liquidity needs to be dumped into the market to get it to the levels they need it to be at. Okay.
Really?
This is a big game. Okay. This is not the retail customer. Okay. This is not the guy with $100. These are people moving billions of dollars. Okay. Big money. Okay. And I can tell you, they were testing it. And we've kind of like, as you saw the last few days, we kind of had solid pricing, right? We're holding our own now. Ethereum looks really good. We're like 3% away from all-time highs. Ethereum looks very, very strong, looking like it's going to go right through $5,000. But I think Bitcoin will top out this month. Okay. I don't believe, I'm not one of those guys that say, oh, we're going to have a, what do they call it? The lengthening cycle. The cycles are just going to get longer. It makes no sense for the big money to make the cycles longer. JC, for example, let's say you're Bank of America right now. Let's say you're a major institution or you're at JP Morgan. Why would you want Bitcoin to go to 300 grand? That would be the dumbest thing in the world, right? Because you haven't accumulated enough yet. You rather that price go back down when all these retail customers freak out, give you all the coin back for nothing. Why buy Bitcoin for 300 when we're going to get it next year at 20? Wow. That's the name of the game. And of course, they'll make money on the way up and then they'll short the market and make money on the way down. But I think Bitcoin will top out this month, probably towards Christmas. It's going to be an interesting Christmas. Some people are going to have some good money for Christmas, I think. That could be exciting. And after Bitcoin tops out, the altcoins run through January. Okay. Could get extended, possibly. Maybe go February, March, potentially. I don't see it, though. I think we've been in a long enough bull run. I also think deflation will hit. Okay. We've talked about inflation so much this year. You see like a 6.5% inflation, right? That's what they say. It's much more than that, but way more than that. But that's what they say, right? The governments, the agencies, whatever the case may be. But I can tell you, we've been talking inflation. One thing I can tell you, no matter which party, Democrat, Republican, they know if the dollar goes to crap, we lose our power in the world. They know that. No matter who you are, if you're in the United States, you know that. This is the world reserve currency currently, the US dollar. I think they stop printing money, okay, and the dollar becomes king. Cash becomes king. And when cash becomes king, what does that do? It hurts all financial markets because everything's pegged against the dollar. Your stock is pegged against the USD value. Your Bitcoin is pegged against the USD value. So when deflation hits, of course, cash is king. For those of you that have some cash right now, hey, real estate's going to get hit. Financial markets are going to get hit. All the stuff will get hit. And then that's how you take advantage of opportunities. That's what the Donald Trumps, the Robert Kiyosakis, they love crashes because guess what? They buy everything up in a crash when everyone's panicking. So there'll be a lot of opportunity there, but I think we go into the bear market and we'll probably get the lows of Bitcoin, Ethereum, all these coins probably next December, January. We'll be at lows. Okay, the bottom, and then we'll start working our way back up slowly but surely. You don't get the parabolic move until really the last year of the cycle, right? But we'll start working our way back up, and that's how it's always gone. And you know, the altcoins, they've historically retraced 90 to 95%. Oh, so these other coins, like I said, Ethereum went from $1,400 under $100. That's what they do, right? They historically have done that, and until we're proven differently. That's just facts. That's information. You can go look up the charts. You can go see what they've done. That's why it's a very unique game. And of course, that sounds scary, right, JC? Like you're new to invest, and that sounds scary. Like, oh my God. But that's also where the opportunity lies. Volatility gives you opportunity. And you have to understand how the volatility works and how you take advantage of things. And there's nothing ever wrong, taking money on the way up. You can never go broke taking profits. And of course, when you invest, never invest more than you're willing to lose. And that's how you make actually good investment decisions, because most people invest money that they're emotionally tied to, money they need to pay their rent this month. And guess what? They take it out 2 weeks before the thing goes up 500% because they're stressed, because they're emotionally tied to it. Yeah. That's the key. So you got to be emotionless. I think the best investments I've made in real estate, into crypto, into many different industries, I forget about the money. When I make an investment, it's like that money's gone. Whatever happens, happens. but I let the investment do what the investments are supposed to do. And you got to give the investments time, because time is your best friend when it comes to investing. So that's what I think. That's my analysis, JC. A little long-winded, but I think Bitcoin tops out this month. And I think the next 20, 30 days, bro, are going to be really aggressive. Hopefully this clip, we play this, 6 months from now, a year from now, this is going to be a crazy clip. And basically the altcoins, I believe, run through January. I see that happening.
All right. Well, hey, you guys heard it here. Let's see how it goes. You've been very accurate, man. You've been very accurate. Not only that, it's true what you say, man. December or November of 2017, my buddy Gallo goes to my house to sell me a Bitcoin. $19,000, bro. I say, sell me 2 Bitcoin, Gallo. He says, no, 1. Over the phone, right? And then because he's coming over to my house. So then I tell my wife, at the time we weren't married, she was my girlfriend. I said, Gallo's coming over. I need you to help me convince this guy to sell me 2 Bitcoin instead of 1. She says, all right, cool. So Gallo shows up to the house. We're talking. So you can sell me one more Bitcoin, Gallo? He says, no, I'm only selling you 1. So Jennifer gets involved, says, come on, Gallo, do us a favor, man. We're friends, blah, 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 blah. Long story short, she convinces him to sell me 2 Bitcoin. I paid $19,000 each Bitcoin, and then it went down to like $10,000, bro. I sold at 11 and 10,000.
So you bought the top, JC. You bought the top.
I bought the top, bro. I bought the top, man.
And honestly, see, a lot of the times, like that situation probably is the best thing that ever happened to you, because it actually educates you. See, when people have a lot of success very early on and they don't go through that kind of stuff, they actually don't develop skills and don't educate themselves. So I'd rather get hit very quickly with a situation so that I'm prepared for it in the future. And I bet you that really helped you when it came to crypto investing and understanding the markets tremendously with that event. So yeah, but yeah, that's a crazy story, bro.
Yeah, bro. That's why I'm asking the questions and I'm ready. I'm looking for this pump. And I'm ready to move out, go into some altcoins, and then eventually to USD, which is one of the questions I'm going to ask you. Yeah. But I'm asking that question because, and I don't care if I move out a little bit early and it keeps going up, doesn't matter. I'm not my emotion is not tied to it.
Exactly. And take profits. You can't go broke taking profits, my friend. You can't go broke taking profits.
That's right. So let's say, for example, it runs through, let's say your prediction is right. It runs through the end of December, right around Christmas, then the altcoins run another month. Then what? They ran. So what would you do at that point?
So this is kind of how you'll understand it if you're watching it, right? Bitcoin's going to top out. Bitcoin has to start going backwards and basically becoming a stagnant, not an exciting, a non-sexy coin, because that's when they'll take the money out of Bitcoin and the altcoins will run. Okay, so that first has to happen. You'll see that play out. You'll see Bitcoin top. You'll like, holy crap, look at Bitcoin this month, right? You're going to see Bitcoin go crazy. And typically we have a blow off top. We've always had a blow off top. That's another sign that the run is over. Meaning you'll see a wick of a candlestick, JC, that goes like crazy. And you're going to be like, that does not look like a normal chart. And guys, everything that goes up must come down. That's just investing. If you want like a long-term successful stock, you'd rather the stock go like this, like slowly but surely. So it's creating levels of resistance, okay? Yes. When a bunch of people get into something and it goes straight up, there's a very high likelihood it's going to go straight down, because all those people that got in earlier are going to sell, and all of them are still going to be in profit all the way back to that point where it broke out. That's a big thing to understand, because when you have a chart that goes up, down, like slowly but surely, all those dips, there's another buyer. There's someone getting in that's their break-even point that's not selling. You understand this philosophy? Like there's levels and there's more and more investors getting in at different prices. So it builds stability in the market. When something goes straight up so fast, it has to come back down. That's just naturally always happens because there's not those points of resistance in the chart and not the buyers. So that's kind of how it logically works. But every time Bitcoin does it, it tops out. So it goes blow off top. It's going to be funny, JC. You're going to see on CNN, Fox, all the news. They're going to be like, Bitcoin, oh my God, right? And that is when they're going to get the retail customers in. It's going to get very bloody for those people. The people that said Bitcoin was too expensive at 28, 29,000 when it had the correction earlier this year, they're going to buy it at 90. That's what happens. It always happens. It was too expensive, man. well, I just threw $1,000 in it. It's 90,000. It's just going to keep going forever.
Right.
That's what's going to happen, right? It always happens, right?
Yeah.
And then the big money is going to be like, look at these idiots coming in. We love this stuff. This is the greatest thing in the world. And then they start dumping on the average American. The rich get richer because the rich are smarter. That's the reality of it, right? You're not all the people that want to hurt the rich will never hurt the rich. They're rich for a reason. Like that's how it goes, right? But at the end of the day, that's what will happen, and you'll see then the money start getting to the altcoins because they'll start taking the profits. They got in Bitcoin fairly early. You can look at the analytics on the blockchain, which is pretty cool. And about 85% of the coin that was bought during the dip earlier this year has not moved.
Oh, wow.
So that shows you the big money understood this is all going to happen. The cycles will repeat.
Interesting.
So basically, though, your question was after that happens, like what happens, right? After the altcoins run in January, for example, then we go into a bear market. And we're just going to go down slowly but surely. There'll be like little pumps, right? Little pullbacks and like, oh, like it's going to keep going, right? There'll be like let's just say it goes to 90, maybe it drops to 80, and then you might get a little pump to 85, and people are going to be like, oh, it's going to keep going. And it's just going to keep going down. And it's going to keep going down, keep going down, keep going down. And the big money loves this because I could tell you, like American institutions have not accumulated enough cryptocurrency. Pension funds and that, they haven't even got into this game. They haven't done anything here. So why would they want Bitcoin? Like this is the logic I was saying earlier. Why would they want Bitcoin to go to 200 or 300 grand? They'll never be able to accumulate enough coin. It doesn't make any sense. So why not go from, let's just say 100 all the way back to 25 or 30, and then they'll accumulate around 25, 30,000.
Right. Makes sense.
That's a smarter thing for them to happen. And guess what? Then they're ready for the next cycle and the next leg up eventually. So that's how it goes.
Love it.
Yep.
So when that happens, right, and we see the altcoins are going to top off, what would you do? Go to USDT, Tether, or something like that, or what would you do?
So it just depends who you are, right? If you're going to get back into the game eventually, maybe moving to a stable coin like a USDT or a USDC. I'd probably say USDC is a little safer than USDT with all the issues. Not saying USDT is not safe, but they've had a lot of government, situations with the AG of New York and, the reserves. Then they prove they have enough in the reserve. But USDC is created by Circle, and it's like Coinbase's coin. So I find it kind of a little safer, but a stable coin, right? A lot of people will probably try to move into stable coins, and then they're going to move their coins to lending platforms like a BlockFi or a Celsius or, a Nexo or one of these platforms that will give you interest on your USD. Right, on the stable coin, on the USDC, or the USDT, because we all know the bank don't give you any interest, right? Bank gives you nothing. 0.001% a year. You got a major account like I've had at every bank. You got 0.003. You can't get 1% a year, JC. Inflation, they tell us is 6.5, and you're getting 1% on your money. What a great business, JC. If you ever want to open up a bank, man, that would be a pretty good thing for us to get into because that is the greatest gaffe in the world, man. They take your money, invest your money, make a killing on your money, and you get nothing for it. It's the greatest business in the world. Yeah. So that's what banks do. But at the end of the day, a lot of people will want the bigger gains, right? The bigger ROI. So like some of these platforms give you 8 to 12% on your US dollars. That's crazy, right? The average American with a 401k gets 3 to 5% a year. So you're talking like 8 to 12% guaranteed paid out weekly in some of these platforms. That's crazy. And that won't last forever. I'm just going to tell you the stable coin interest-bearing platforms, they're all going to get hit from the government, and they're going to say that stable coins are securities, so you won't be eventually able to do this. Not saying you can't take advantage of it for the next 6 months to a year before the government regulatory stuff comes in, but at the end of the day, they're going to get hit. And the reason is because they don't want the average American succeeding, and they're favoring the banks.
That's right.
That's what it is. It's not about because they all could give us that type. The Bank of America could give me, Wells Fargo could give me, Chase could give, any bank can give me the exact interest they're giving me. But they're greedy and they want the bigger pie. That's the reality of it. Where these crypto platforms are like, well, we want to incentivize people to use our platforms. We want to be more fair. Of course, we're going to all make money. You see how much money these exchanges are making? Crypto.com just became, the Staples Center just became Crypto.com. Okay, the American Airlines Arena in Miami, where the Heat play, just became FTX Arena. Trust me, these crypto exchanges are making money. Go look at Coinbase's revenues. They're making tons of money. So it shows you that these lending platforms and these exchanges they make plenty of money, and they could still pay people significant, let's just say interest on their assets, which the banks don't do because they just take it all. So that's the reality of it.
I love it, man. Thank you for that. Tell me about endow, bro. But we're about to wrap up in a couple of minutes, but I definitely want to get into endow. I own a lot of endow, not compared to what you own, but I'm happy with what I own. Tell me a little bit about endow. A lot of my listeners, a lot of my friends, I've told about it. Some of them have bought some. Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, so endow is the world's first adaptive digital currency. The public company that I work with is called InvestView, and they actually created a relationship with a company called Onero that created this asset. It's actually, like I said, the world's first adaptive digital currency. What does that actually mean? Their whole goal is to build an asset that goes up over time instead of going down, okay? And not saying it's perfect, right? It's going to do that to the T, but they've created some tokenomics that are very interesting. For example, we all know Bitcoin, right? And Bitcoin is produced every single day through a process called mining, meaning more Bitcoin comes into the world each and every day, okay? By basically people running supercomputers that are solving blocks on the blockchain, and they get rewarded pieces of a coin. So literally more Bitcoins produced daily. That's not good for the price. If there was no demand for Bitcoin, would that be good that new supply is coming in every day? No, okay? And of course, there's a hard cap on Bitcoin of 21 million, which is great, right? Because like the max supply, but there's more coin being produced. How endow actually works is it's actually built on a bonding curve, and it has to get to certain price criteria before they release more of the asset, which is pretty insane tokenomics, meaning if the price is going down, there's no supply getting produced, which is very, very unique. So they control supply and demand. Also, the asset is basically backed in a sense by an endowment. So if there is extreme volatility, there's an endowment, and the endowment currently has, I believe, well over $50 million now in the endowment, where if the asset got too crazy, they could actually buy up the asset, buy it back to stabilize price, which is pretty insane. They also have basically something called an SIB fee, where if you go and sell the asset during volatile times, you could get charged with a fee ranging from 5% to 45%. Think about that. If it's down 10% on the day and the fee kicks into 10% to sell it right now, do you want to lose 10% of your asset? Probably not. So it's going to discourage people from selling in volatile times to help stabilize price. See all these little things that it has with it. And also, of course, they reward people for holding it long term, which is a big thing. You actually get 15% annual interest, which is actually compounded daily. So that comes out to like a little over 16%, right? If you do the math and you break it down each day. But it's daily compounding, and you get paid every 24 hours an additional endow for locking the asset and holding it for a 3-year lock, which is pretty cool. So it's a pretty cool project, JC. What we've been able to do with it is very unique, and it's a new project. It's not like Bitcoin, right? It's an early on project. We also were able to create a relationship with a protection company where with our business, you can actually buy the asset and have your money protected through a protection plan through a company called Total Protection Plus, and the underwriters to the policies are Lloyd's of London. Like, it's pretty extreme, the thing that we set up, because as you know, most people are afraid to get involved in cryptocurrency because of volatility, not understanding it. Well, you could buy this asset, and for example, the asset could go to zero, but 100% of initial purchase can be protected through a policy, which gives you the upside potential, but helping you on the downside if anything went wrong. So it's a neat opportunity, but we've set some cool things up with them. And of course, that isn't like when you go buy the asset on the open market, that doesn't work like that. That's with our business. But you can go buy the asset today, on KuCoin, some major exchanges. Just in the last 6 months, it got listed on KuCoin, Bittrex Global, Liquid, Bitmart. It's on a bunch of exchanges already. And this is just the beginning. I believe, their team has a lot of ideas and things they're going to do with it. So I'm excited for the project. But like you said, JC, we got it extremely early. So if it becomes, a top 100 cryptocurrency, we're going to be in a very, very good position. And if it doesn't, the way that we got into it, we actually even had our money protected. So it's a cool non-risk, all reward type of opportunity that we got set up there.
Yeah, I love it, man. That's why I got a bunch of it, man. And I'm gonna get some more because of that reason. So that's awesome, bro. Hey, one of the last 2 questions that I've got for you is this: it's middle of 2022. You have $1 million that you have to invest in 2 months. How do you invest it?
Great question. So middle of 2022. Okay.
Yeah.
I think we are in the crash at that time. In the crash of stocks, in the crash of real estate, in the crash of crypto. Okay. So at that exact moment, I'd really have to analyze what is down far enough. Because of course we buy low, sell high, right? That's how we make money when it comes to investing. So I'd have to analyze exactly where it's going. But let's just say they were all the same, right? If things were all the same, I believe in diversification. Diversification is the way to go. But my philosophy is when we go into these depressions or these resets, we call them, right? They're not really depressions, but they're more of resets of the economy. Because guys, third world countries have recessions. The US, it's not to that level, even though they'll call it that in the media and stuff. It's not to that level. But we'll have corrections. And I just believe, diversification is always key. I'm really big in real estate. I'm really big in cryptocurrency. I'm actually really big in traditional equities today as well. Most people don't even know that, but I'm big into all financial things. But I believe that whatever's down the most is probably where you would probably want to put the most. That's just strategically how you would do it. Me personally, I actually sold a few properties recently, JC, a few different pieces of land, things that I bought over the last few years, significant returns, doubling my money on multiple properties, right? And I can tell you the reason I sold them now is because I feel like we're towards the top, right? We're at the highs of the market. I'm going to take that cash, okay, and sit on that cash for a little. And that's kind of a crazy thought, right? Like, sit on cash, well, your cash ain't making you more money, right? You want to invest your money to keep compounding your money. Sometimes it's smarter to sit on it because when the thing's correct, then you can go buy everything up. So there's rhyme and reason, but I can just tell you guys when it comes to financial markets, real estate, anything in the world, everything goes in a cycle. There's a cycle every single time. And there has to always be cycles because there has to be people making money on the way up and making money on the way down. Things don't go straight up forever. They don't. So understand there will always be cycles. And if you understand how to play the cycles, you get ahead of the game.
I love it, man. One last question. I like to do these questions because we also have young listeners, right? Mm-hmm. And, when I was a kid, if there was podcasts like this and YouTube existed, I like to believe that I would be watching successful people's interviews, right? I'd be learning from people like that. So we do have an audience like that. What advice would you give to your teenage self? It could be about business. It could be about peer pressure, whatever the case may be. You could go back to your teenage self somewhere from 13 to 17, 18, 19. What advice would you give yourself?
Yeah, so I would say I didn't know anything outside of sports, like anything. Like, yeah, of course I was somewhat educated, go to school, learn, whatever the case may be. But with this internet today, the YouTube, like you said, the podcast stuff, all these things, these resources, right? All this free value. Like, it wasn't even like that. Our parents' generation, they had to go buy books. And maybe the book was caught up to the times, but most books are 20 years behind. Like, that's the reality. You go to school, the textbook's 20 years behind, like what it should actually be today. That stuff is outdated. So there's so much useful information. If I was someone very young right now, JC, and I can tell you, I do this even myself today, I'd be soaking up as much information as possible, educating myself in evolving industries. Cryptocurrency is a very, unique, evolving industry right in front of us right now. It's the only financial market that was created in our lifetime. So it's something that's been created in our lifetime that's evolving. You see this stuff like the NFT stuff, the metaverse stuff. That's like gaming and how the world's changing to this digital. You see Facebook naming themselves Meta. Like, right. You see the stuff happening. So I would educate myself on like what's going on and how I could take advantage and put myself in a position to win. And if you're young, I always said to people, like, getting started in the networking profession, JC, at 18 years old was so important to my success because I didn't have any responsibilities. Kids, bills, really. I was going to college. I was in a dorm, right? Like, I didn't have responsibilities where, someone starting at 30, they have more responsibilities and they couldn't put in as much time or dedicate as much time to something to develop the skill set. So I had time. Time was my friend. So if you're young, you got time on your side. And most people are like, you never know when it's going to be your last day. I get that. I 100% get that. But at the end of the day, most of us live a pretty long time. So the reality is you got to take advantage of those youthful years to put yourself ahead of the game so you don't have to worry about money in the future. See, my whole thing was like at 18 years old, I was like, man, if I work my butt off till I'm 30, if I work my butt off, JC, till I'm 30, I never have to worry about money again.
That's right.
That was my thought process. So when everyone else at 18, 19, 20 years old, as you know, going out partying, clubbing every night, that's what they're doing. I was the guy saying, hey, you know, I can't do this tonight. Sorry, guys, I got to go to a meeting. I got things to do. So I dedicated the time now so I didn't have to dedicate it later. Most people say, you know, their parents tell them, go to college. You know, it's the best 4 years of your life, right? You've heard that before. And then they hate the next 40. I was like, you know what? I'm going to give up a few now so I can enjoy the whole life. And when I do decide to have kids and a family, I can go do what I want to do. That was my philosophy. And I think the young people out there, if you think like that, you're going to be so far ahead of everyone else that you go to school with, that you're around. You're just going to be so far ahead of the game, and you'll be literally, you know, walking into opportunities for yourself.
I love it. I love it. It's like something that I saw somebody post. I may have copied it too. It says there's a big difference between enjoying your youth and destroying your future. Yep. Right. And I know a lot of people that say, I'm going to take this time off. I'm only young once and stuff. And then before you know, they want to take a year off, and they took a decade off. Yep. And then they got kids and they've got responsibilities. They've got bills and they've got debt. Now their excuses, I've got bills, I've got debt, I've got responsibilities. It's like, bro, all excuses are equal. Right. So I think that's some great advice. Anthony, finally, how can people find you? How can people connect with you online? Yeah, so Facebook, it's Anthony Knapp, facebook.com, it's Anthony Knapp, all social media platforms, it's Anthony Knapp, ITZANTHONYNAP, it's Anthony Knapp, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, the whole thing, and then YouTube, just my full name, Anthony Napolitano. And yeah, we give a lot of free value on YouTube and stuff like that. I've kind of made it a passion of mine, JC, like over the last 6-8 months, maybe almost a year now, to do a lot of like free stuff, like free value. I just want to give back more so. And it might sound a little cliche and stuff, but like, I really just want to give people value so people can actually start taking control of their lives. And I love what you're doing, man, with the podcast and everything that you've been up to, because that's exactly kind of where I'm at mentally. Like, give people value, educate people. And of course, as you guys know, the more good stuff you put out there, the more good stuff that's going to come back to you. That's how the world works. And if you're a good person, you're going to put yourself in place to have major opportunities and success. Awesome, man. Anthony, thank you so much, bro. I appreciate the compliments. I appreciate the time you getting on here, sharing this value more than anything. Listen, guys, follow Anthony, check out this video, send it to whoever you think can get value from this, which is probably everybody. And with that being said, Anthony, again, thank you very much, my friend. I will see you later. And you guys, I'll see you at the top or from the top. Take care.